Frankie, we got training camp coming up. About 2 weeks until the New York Jets will report. Here are some topics I want to hit with you. As we sit here right now, what to you is the biggest storyline that you're going to be closely following once camp opens?
When you mentioned this to me a few hours ago that we're going to go through that topic, the first thing that popped into my head was the cornerback position. Again, I think there's so many different things they could do at corner. Obviously, Brandon Stevens is CB1, but is he going to be CB1 throughout the year? How much playing time is Nashawn Wright going to have? AZ Thomas, even Stiggers might get some playing time there at corner. And then you're looking at D'Angelo Pons. Are you playing him on the outside? Are you playing him strictly as a nickel corner? I don't know. I think that's a position that you can come into camp with one depth chart that you have, or your base depth chart, and then things could drastically change. I could see Nashawn Wright inserting himself as cornerback 1 or 1B. Maybe Stevens takes a step back, or maybe AZ Thomas takes Nashawn Wright's position. I don't know. That's a true competition to me. And I think when you look at our problems last year on defense with the inability to force turnovers, Jake, the one common denominator outside of pass rush is cornerback play. Our cornerbacks were terrible last year. Let's just call a spade a spade. They did not have a good year. They cannot keep up with these receivers. You cannot allow receivers to run just seam routes and stuff underneath and just constantly be open. I mean, it's just a little play action. You have a receiver running across the middle of the field on a crossing route. They're open every time. That's on the corners too. Now, this year with Bailey coming to town and hopefully Will McDonald having to prove himself again, this is a huge year for Will. I think they're going to actually get some pressure on the quarterback with that defensive line rotation too, and Dunbar being here and Glenn calling the defense. I think they're going to get more pressure. But with that said, are the corners going to be able to make plays on the football? I think that cornerback room, Jake, needs to be a true competition, and that's what I'm looking towards, honestly. I think everything's up for grabs. I think D'Angelo Pons could potentially become an outside cornerback 1A, 1B kind of guy. I don't know.
I hope it's truly an open competition, as you said. I think if you want to break down the secondary as a whole beyond just corner, who's the opposite safety next to Minka? That's a huge question. I mean, I talked about this on our Jets Collective podcast with Rich and BT last week. To me, it really comes down to the younger guys in the rooms they have there. Can they take a big step forward? I'm talking about a guy like Malachi Moore, who got a chance to play a lot last year. But that doesn't mean he's truly a starter. It means he played a lot in a team that won 3 games. Can he take a step forward and win a starting spot? Can he beat out Andre Sisco, who they brought back for the minimum? And then in the corner room, they've invested a lot the last 2 drafts as far as a 3rd-round pick in a corner in Azareye'h Thomas and a 2nd-round pick, top 50 pick overall in D'Angelo Pons. I think in a best-case scenario, both guys are starting, but they've earned the starting job, right?
Yeah.
Like they've gone out there, and it's not just they're playing because the team is bad later in the year. Pons is either the starting nickel or he's good enough to play on the outside, or more importantly, I think it's Azareye'h Thomas. I think he beats out Nashawn Wright, and he starts opposite Brandon Stevens.
Yeah, if you want my opinion on this, what I think is going to happen, man, I think D'Angelo Pons is going to be a hell of a player. And Jake, I think he's going to be someone that's playing on the outside. Do not be surprised by the end of this season. We're not saying he's the best corner on this team. I'm just saying. And he reminds me a lot of DJ Reed, but even a little better. Those guys do well here too. You need that mentality, and he's super tough. I mean, mentally strong. That kid will get in your grill. That kid will make plays. He's great at stopping the run also, Jake. He doesn't shy away from contact on the outside. It's almost like the opposite of a Sauce Gardner in a lot of ways, to be honest. You need those kind of players. And I think by the end of the year, we'll be saying, he's one of the best players in that secondary, if not on that defense. I'm a big fan. I think that's the one pick. I mean, we look at the 3 first-rounders that we had. Obviously, Cooper Jr. was a trade up to 30, but Pons is getting I don't want to say too much overlooked, but don't be surprised if by the end of the year, we're like, he's been the best rookie throughout the entire season. I would not be surprised at all. And I do not think he's going to be strictly a nickel corner. I don't. I think they'll probably put him there to start. But then I think as the year progresses, you'll see him playing on the outside there. Maybe him and Wright are in certain packages, or him and Stevens are just your primary, outside corners. So I'm very excited for him. He's a player that will make plays for us, and that 4 turnover number, which I think is just as bad as 0 interceptions for an entire season. I think you'll get 4 turnovers with guys like that by week 4 or 5 in totality, because he'll strip the ball out, he'll recover fumbles. He's a baller, man. You saw what he did with Indiana against Dante Moore. That was the first play of the game, wasn't it?
Pick 6, yep.
I mean, that's the kind of player he is, man. He's got that mentality. We need guys like that.
I totally agree with you. Offensively, here was the biggest storyline that I think I am specifically looking at beyond, just Geno Smith and all that's going on with him and how he looks. That's a given. Who's the number 2 pass catcher in this offense? And notice I said pass catcher, not wide receiver, because you have Garrett Wilson. We know he's the dude. After that, could it be A.D. Mitchell? Could it actually be Omar Cooper Jr. as a rookie? Could it be Mason Taylor in his second year? Could it be Kenyon Sadiq, who was the 16th overall pick and the offensive coordinator specifically went above and beyond to vouch for the team to select him? Who emerges in this offense behind Garrett Wilson in target share? Like if I say to you, hey, Garrett, number 1 in targets, who's number 2? I think if I had, 5 different people on, I might get 4 or 5 different answers to that question.
Well, I think the answer is Omar Cooper Jr., Jake. And I don't really think I don't want to say I don't think it's close. I just think when you look at target shares and players that are able to be in the right positions in certain offenses to warrant those targets, Omar Cooper Jr., they're going to insert him as wide receiver 2. And I think they're going to key him in on some wide receiver 1 packages. What I mean is he's your first read. And I think they're going to see what they get out of the kid. He flashed in a few games with Indiana that were just special to the point that you could have justified after that tape him going in the top 20, top 15 range. That's how good Omar Cooper Jr. did look at times at Indiana. Now, he sometimes would disappear in games. I think that was more because of Indiana's offense. They ran a more, I would say, conservative style of offense where they're not just dropping back and allowing Mendoza to throw, 35, 40 times a game. They were a bit more reserved in how they ran their offense, more calculated. But here, assuming, again, we don't know what kind of offense Frank Reich's going to run. If it's up to me, I would pepper Omar Cooper Jr. as much as you can. I would get Sadiq involved as much as you can. If you want to know my answer in a year or two, don't be surprised if Kenyon Sadiq's not the answer to that question as your second most important pass catcher outside of Garrett Wilson. You drafted a tight end, remember, 16th overall. Not many tight ends get drafted at 16th overall in the top half of the first round. You did it for a reason. I was telling Ryan, you don't draft a tight end 16th overall to say, oh.
Were you shouting this at Ryan at your guys' dinner on Saturday night?
I don't know how Ryan dealt with me this week, and I'm surprised he still even wants to deal with me at all. Big ups to him, because
he was so happy when you ran over to my table because he got a break from having to deal with your drunk ass.
Yeah, I think I thought I Irish exited him. I think he Irish exited me, actually. So I'm like, Ryan, sorry if I went back to the room. He's like, no, don't. Whatever. I'm kind of, maybe he was.
So here's what happened. I came over to you guys and we were walking in, said hello, and then I was like, oh, you guys have a good dinner. We'll meet up after. We'll go watch, the McGregor fight in the sports book and play blackjack or whatever. And you're like, I'll come over. I'll stop by your table. And I'm like, you're good. Just enjoy your dinner. And Ryan goes, oh, no, Frankie, make sure you stop by. Like, he couldn't wait to get rid of your ass. The Jake Asman Show is now presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app made simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build your lineup in seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And PrizePicks is already offering NFL futures, including futures for New York Jets players. Take a look at the lineup that you see on the screen. Garrett Wilson, more than 4.5 reception touchdowns. David Bailey, he's going to have at least 7 sacks his rookie year. Arvell Reese, almost a Jet. I think he'll have at least 3 sacks in his rookie year. with the Giants. That is a 3-pick power play, $10 to pay out $60. That is just an example of some of the lineups you can make over at PrizePicks. Make your own lineups today for any sport. Just download the PrizePicks app, use the code HMA, and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup.
Next year, Jake, I got the fear of missing something real bad.
That was the goal, Kyle. Creates so much FOMO, people can't miss the next one.
That's right. I would have liked to had a chance to catch up with some of those guys. Doc, first and foremost. It looks like it was a good time. I was wondering how you guys got LJ. And then I guess it's the uniquely named Larry David that came through there.
Larry Davis, but Lou always calls him Larry David, so I've given him a try to remind him.
Yeah, so I mean that would have been a huge get for me. I always hated UNLV coming up, and then as soon as he got traded to the Knicks, I'm like, this guy's really talented. I think he can help us win. So yeah, I mean, what a great get. Just to what you guys were talking about earlier with the cornerbacks. I mean, I have high hopes that the room is going to be better. I mean, with the addition of Pons and Deshaun Wright and a year more of development from AZ, you would have to think that the unit as a whole is going to take a step forward with competition and so on. The other starter, the guy who came from the Ravens, and his name escapes me right now. I don't know if he's ever going to get us head around to look at the football. We're a couple of years into a pro career at this point, so it's a little frustrating to see that this still has a problem. Because I feel like he has the athleticism to make the play on the ball. But yeah, I mean, that's why I don't understand the Stallions with Terry and Arnold. It's already a pretty stacked room with guys that you put a lot of capital into, whether it's free agent capital or draft capital. I don't really see the role for him or the reason for the interest, and I was just curious if you guys had a take on that.
Frankie, should the Jets sign Terry and Arnold?
That's a rough one. I mean, listen, so with Terry and Arnold, I loved him out of the draft. I was a big fan. I had him highly graded. I thought he was excellent. There's something mentally going on. I think if you can get past that, and that might be a large hill to kind of get over right there, but I loved him so much out of the draft, Kyle. I think doing diligence makes sense. But yeah, there must be some mental health issues going on with him. He doesn't seem like, even last year, a few years ago, he had some video come out where he's just acting strange. I'm curious how he's doing. So with that said, I don't think the room it's crowded, but it's crowded with, average talent. So there's a lot of corners we have, but do we know if any of these guys are going to be able to give us even average or above average production? I liked him that much out of the draft that I think doing a little diligence makes sense, but the chances that he's going to be able to come in and give you value in a 1 or 2 year window is probably pretty low overall. Like he probably needs a few years to get his stuff together.
Okay.
Outside of the case that is impending, like he may, he may get in some serious trouble. I mean, these are serious allegations. So
if we think that room's talent is average, that is an indictment of this regime, because we just signed Deshaun Wright. We used a day 2 pick on AZ, right? We just brought in Pons, who we think is going to be pretty good, and they signed the ex-Raven, whose name I'll never remember, never in a million years. But right, like that's on Muji and Glenn. Like if we're going to be spending this kind of capital to bring in Terry and Arnold as one of 5 cornerbacks that are going to be in play to play significant roles, like what are we doing?
Do you like the room though? Is the question. I think that's something you have to. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not in love with that room. That's we opened up, and I was opening up saying that I think that cornerback competition or that cornerback room in general, who's starting and who's not, it's going to be my biggest story on a training camp. Yeah, I just don't know. Nashawn Wright, Brandon Stevens, AZ Thomas. I like Pons a ton, but he's 5'7", So
And to me, it's hard not to like right at the price, right?
Totally. Yeah, I'm a fan. Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate the time, guys.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.